is EDU709, and I'm looking at how to have innovative technology as not a teacher, but as a teacher trainer for professional development sessions. So looking at this, I'm going to show you a session that I just did this week because I wanted to give it a try of how to use TAC to make a really interactive PD session for the different teachers that I'm training and using Dreambox Learning. Dreambox Learning is an interactive, adaptive intelligent engine that lets people, when the students use it, it actually assesses student learning to remediate, to accelerate, or just move on to the next lesson in the order of which they're in. But I'll get into that in just a minute. So to start off with, I have teachers log into their TAC. So I post up what the TAC is that we're using for the day. So I highlight this 5K, 7RK for the teachers to look at. They type that in and go to today's TAC. I've personally made it for this Evergreen School District, which was in Spokane, Washington. And this was a session for K through 5 teachers using that data of the intelligent adaptive learning engine to make learning and how to use that data to drive their own instruction and take it even further. So the agenda for the day was first to review best practices and student routines. Then we were going to monitor progress and teacher tools. Then after that, we were going to look at using data for student grouping, how to use assigned focus, and to make assignments, and then finally blended learning models that they can utilize in their own classroom. So to start with, I offer at the bottom of the page, I have the slide deck that they can view at any time. So I'm going to open that up. But it gives them a view of the slideshow that I have prepared for those teachers. So they have access to what I'm also sharing with them as a PowerPoint presentation during their session of professional development. So there's the TAC. We review best practices, so there's our agenda for today. And the first thing I lead them off into is to play Kahoot. So if you go back to our TAC, you can see that the very first link underneath our agenda is the Kahoot. So it lines up with the PowerPoint presentation that I'm sharing with the teachers, but they're not having to find all these links and type in all these links to go to places. It's all in one nice location. So if I click on Kahoot, it takes them right to where they can enter that game pin. Meanwhile, on my end of the session, as I'm leading the training, I'm going to choose Classic, and it'll give them the pin to log in. So it's two separate things going on at once. It's me leading them in a discussion and the Kahoot, but making it all easily accessible in using the TAC. So the TAC is just a really great tool to make everything in one location, making it easy for people to not have to fumble around between different web pages as I guide them through the training using all these different tools and manipulatives. So they play the Kahoot, and there's 10 different questions, and this was just an opening to kind of see how much they remember about using Dreambox Learning and how it navigates and how it assesses student learning and that kind of thing. So from that, after we play the Kahoot, we talk about student expectations and what best practices are for teachers to make sure they do in Dreambox. So I'm not going to go through this and train you, but it just gives you an idea of how the training flows and that kind of thing. I mentioned the Harvard study on Dreambox Learning and how that is correlated to student growth. So we have several studies that have actually shown that the adaptive intelligent learning engine really does give strength and growth to students who are using Dreambox in a relatively short amount of time. If you look at students that just spend 14 hours overall in Dreambox, so that's not even an hour a week over a school year, because that would be, there's 36 weeks in a school year, an hour a week would be 36 hours. So not even an hour a week. They're looking at an increase in 3.8 percentage points on their achievement tests. Students, and that's comparative to students that are not using Dreambox. So you could have a student who would normally be with the 50th percentile on their PARCC test or on their CASP at the end of the year, and students who are actually using Dreambox are scoring 3.8 to 5.5 points higher than students that aren't using Dreambox. And our recommendation is to use Dreambox an hour a week. So if you're actually using that hour a week, you're going to be looking at 10 percentage points of growth, which is huge as far as student growth and how that affects children's lives and filling in those gaps in their understanding in math. So this just kind of lets you know about how long it takes a student to complete a lesson. This includes login time as well as choosing a lesson and what they want to do, because part of the thing that makes Dreambox so interesting and interactive is that students have choice. They can choose what lesson they want to do. It's not a linear design of instruction, but rather students can actually pick and choose what they want to do, what they want to learn, and go about it that way. So it truly does fit with that blended learning model where it's individualized instruction according to pace and place, as well as the amount of time that students have to complete those lessons. From there, you can see here that as you return to the TAC, that I have right on here how to log in to their teacher account, the demo account, and their password. And they can just click right here. It's going to take them to that demo account so they can log in. And then I have another activity here with assigned focus that I'll go into a little bit later. So we go into that Insight dashboard, and they log in as DBL teacher. And I go over the different areas of access within Dreambox. I show them how students with the orange next to their name mean that they need attention. Students with nothing next to their name means they're on progress towards reaching their goals for the week. And students with green next to their name have already met that goal for the week. You can close this drawer by clicking on the 3 lines above. And it really just, you can sort out by the minutes per week, so you can see how many minutes students are using Dreambox, the number of lessons they've completed, and the amount of growth they've shown. So I can go into standards, and I can actually view the standards that students have completed at grade level, below grade level, above grade level. You can see that I have grade 4 here, but I can dig back all the way to kindergarten and see where my different students are showing growth and strength at the kindergarten level. We'll wait for this page to open. Here's my standards. I can sort a particular standard so I can see, oh, look, Emily and James haven't started this standard yet. Arnold Palmer here, he's already in progress in it, but he hasn't shown proficiency in this particular standard yet. And then I can see that all the students below with the green dots have shown proficiency in that standard. So say I want to look at that even closer. I can click on this, the domain tab here, counting and cardinality, choose that particular standard by clicking on it, and now I'm going to have a grouping view. So I can actually arrange and group my students according to where they are in Dreambox. I can also give them an assignment. So if I wanted to add an assignment, it's going to give me the opportunity to make an assignment for that particular standard, and it's going to differentiate their learning based on where they are in Dreambox. So students who haven't started yet are going to receive a lesson, first of all, how to use the manipulative, and then they're going to receive a lesson that gives them an introduction into that standard. For students that are already in progress in that lesson, they're going to receive the next lesson in that lesson group. So Madison here and Aaron only need to complete one more lesson to show proficiency within this lesson group. Excuse me. So as I was saying, Madison and Aaron only need to show one lesson to get to that completion light. But Courtney and Arnold Palmer here have 2 more that they have to get complete. Courtney's only 63% done, so she'll be given the next lesson based on where she's in Dreambox. So they're not even given the same lesson if they're in progress. They're given a lesson that meets them where they're at in progress. And then for students who are proficient in that standard, it's going to actually go ahead and give them the hardest lesson in that lesson group to complete, just to verify that they still have that standard and are still showing proficiency in that standard. A common question I often receive is, when we're looking at standards and we're looking at students. I'm going to exit this here. As that standard view, they ask that once if they show that they're proficient, or do they stay proficient? And the answer is no. Actually, a student can be working along, and if later on they show that they're not using that strategy that they learned earlier before and had shown proficiency in, it will actually take them back to that original standard and give them review lessons in that. And it'll show them as being in progress again and not proficient. And then once they have the proficiency again, it brings them back. So it's going to constantly spiral students to make sure that they still understand and still are maintaining that proficiency and understanding of using the math. So Dreambox is really just a great tool for really individualizing and personalizing those lessons. So now let's go back to our TAC. And what I usually do with my teachers after this is we've kind of gone over a Dreambox. I make an assignment. I leave them the instructions of how to make an assignment so they can access that at any time. And then I actually let them sign in as a student. I have 3x5 cards with student names and let them log in as a student. So I give them the link to log in as a student. They choose their student name and they complete the assignment for that student that's been assigned to them in Dreambox. So, and then you can tell if it's an assigned lesson. I show them ahead of time with my picture that I have put in this TAC that has the calendar icon on it, that this is an assignment and that you should do those first. So I also made a parking lot where teachers could go to. So it's a Google group where they could leave me comments, questions, concerns, or suggestions. This particular group didn't leave me any. I was hoping they would, but I actually had really good feedback from them when I gave this presentation, and they even came to other sessions that I did because they liked this session so much. So that was really exciting and a good compliment because they felt that they walked away with something that they could actually use in their classroom when they were done. Then I give them some useful links like the Teacher Hub that has certificates and posters and math journals and things they can use with Dreambox to help it align with the content that they, or the curriculum that they currently use, the math textbook that they use for their grade level at the school. Teacher Tools is amazing. It actually gives them online manipulatives that they can use. So say I'm a 6th grade teacher and I'm teaching coordinate grids. I can click on this plus sign. I have the teacher tool in English and in Spanish, and I can actually click on that teacher tool in whichever language I choose, and it's going to give me an infinite number of problems for students to solve and work as a class to have math talks. So, and it just walks me through how to actually use that, that manipulative. And I can have the group discuss, like, well, what if I had slid this over more? Because I can use this axis tool and I can actually change the axis, which is going to change the location of the different objects. So it just really is great for having those math talks and those number talks with students and making sure that they really have an understanding of best strategies and ways to use Dreambox. And get them to incorporate that in their regular daily use in class as well. We also have on-demand professional development available for teachers. There's free on-demand available with if they use DBL Teacher as their username and their password is DBL Teacher. As I mentioned before, I have the slide deck that I'm using for the day available to those teachers. So you can see that we played Kahoot again. I went through the different blended learning models that they might be interested in since they're in a school-based setting. So I chose them, rotate the models that seem to fit best with an actual school location setting type issue. So, and then again, my links that I gave them, as well as their how to contact me for any additional help or support. So that was my slide deck that they have access to later on to review and to return to look at. We have the Insight dashboard walkthrough, so if they need a reminder of different places in their Insights dashboard, they can go through that. And then I just ask them to fill out a SurveyMonkey. So if they click on the SurveyMonkey, it opens up to SurveyMonkey, and they can choose my name and give me feedback as far as how I did during my presentation, and if they have any feedback for me for improvement for future use, so I can constantly hone my skills. So this is how you would use attack to drive and make a truly interactive professional development session so that teachers are engaged and processing and learning and communicating all at once. Okay, so to create a tech, I'm going to click on this pencil icon right here. And I can start with really anything. I can have a school project, I can have a chat, I can make a blog. There's numerous ways of going about this. I'm going to use a blank canvas. So I'm going to click on blank canvas. And from here, I can choose my palettes or my squares. I'm going to choose palette because it makes it a little easier to do. And I like to choose something that's close to Dreambox colors. So I usually do 20,000 Leagues is a good one for me to choose. But you can choose any color palette you want. You can choose your fonts. Patterns if you like. I'd be crazy and do polka dots since I don't have to use this later. You have different options that you can use, like whether it's going to be private or public. You can add to the tack board, and you can customize your title. So this is where I could really go through and say EDU709. And then when they go to log in, that'll be part of their thing. And I can upload a photo for my background. So I'm going to go ahead and make it personalized by saying EDU709. Check and make sure that that's available, and it is. I'm going to keep my comment stream open, and I can publish my tag. Oh no, it doesn't want me to do that just yet. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to give myself a headline. I'm going to give me something that I can use to fill in here. Personally, I like to use a photo. So let's see. Let's upload a photo. I can use anything I want. So I'm going to use my MBylow that I used with my wiki page. And done. And now that's my heading, my header, and my intro into there. And then from here, I can add information. So if I want to add a link or if I want to add a headline, I can add a headline. I'm going to say presentation. Creating project. And so it's just really simple to add things. You can add audio. If you have Spotify, if you have SoundCloud, you can go ahead and upload music to add that into your portion. If you want to add a video, you can add a video into here by going to YouTube, Vimeo, Animoto, Instagram, or Vine. It's really just that simple. You just click and put it on here. If you want to sell something, you can actually sell it and make a donation through PayPal. So if you need to get rid of anything, you just click on this little circle here, this spiky circle, and choose the trash can, and it's gone. So it's really, really simple, and it's a great way to have teachers make their own presentations of how to use Dreambox based on what they've learned in a lesson so that they can share it with other teachers. To make a link, you could use the button, enter the URL that you want to use, so http://dreambox.com, apply. Oh, I want to change my button label, sorry. Let's go back to that. And just as simple as going here to my settings, I click on my pencil, and I can customize my label here. and apply, and voila. Now I have a link that will take me right to the Dreambox website. So like I said, it's really simple, easy to use. It's very intuitive, and it's a great way to have students create presentations to share information about their presentations and that kind of thing. So I hope you found that informative today. I haven't had a chance yet to try this out with my teachers. I have a teacher-on-teacher coming up soon so that I can have them create their own tasks that they can use for training other teachers at their sites after they've been trained. But for now, I think you can get the idea of how simple this is to use as a tool for presentation purposes and the like. So thank you for your attention today, and I look forward to hearing from you soon and publish my tag. Thank you.